Hi, welcome to REDCOM Radar. This edition, we're going to talk about air to ground interoperability. My name is Michael Scaravillo. I'm one of the business development managers here, and with me today is,
Mike Acevedo, Solutions Architect.
and we want to just walk you through one of our use cases where we had an air asset who was having an issue with radio interoperability between software defined radios. And
I want to say we had a solution for
yeah,
them to be able to interrupt a number of different communication devices that they had, and that's where we came in. We came in and provided a demonstration on how we can have all of those different endpoints, all of those lines of communication to interop with one another.
yeah, so if you think the use case, Mike, it really was not only military, but it was state, it was local, it was whoever would respond to either an emergency or a natural disaster. And these air assets primarily were helicopters, but they also talked about drones as well. And I thought it was interesting where they're each of the air assets, whether they're helicopters or drones, were using either a Silvus software-defined radio or a persistent system.
Yeah, I agree. There was a lot of different technologies there, and they need to communicate. And one of the important things for them was to be able to communicate through voice. They wanted to transmit data. They wanted to transmit even simple lines of communication, like just being able to message one another. A lot of times maybe things ain't so urgent, so just a simple message will get a lot of information. Also, the ability to share video content that they had, whether it be video content just showing the actual pilot, what they would be looking at, and so that was really useful. And we have that ability to share that content, whether it be messaging, whether it be video, whether it be voice, and it was really interesting. It was really cool for us to be able to experience that. We were able to see it and see it firsthand. Somebody actually
Sure.
going up in a helicopter and be able to communicate with them, ultimately all the way to somebody's cell phone. So we basically were able to transfer that call, that radio voice conversation, and actually relay that all the way to somebody's cell phone and just being able to communicate with them. So yeah, that was a really fun experience.
I thought it was cool. I think, if we were to set the stage, you've got a helicopter out there. We're in an air hangar, right? We're setting up our equipment. They're saying we can't communicate with, or we can communicate with our Silvus radio. We can communicate with our persistent systems radio, but we can't get the two to talk together. And that was the biggest interoperability. So we worked with them in terms of getting it configured properly so that the helicopter, it had a persistent systems radio, and then it also had an antenna that was um,
Kind of acting as a repeater
as a
on.
repeater.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And that antenna was able to get the signal from downrange where the helicopter was. So the helicopter went downrange. We were able to um, connect it to the persistent systems radio, and then we brought in the Silvus radio, and they were able to have that conversation. So then, then we started broadening our solution out, and as Mike had alluded to, we brought in some different endpoints.
We brought in different endpoints, Android devices running our plugin that attaches. It's a plugin for ATAK, so they even have now the ability to leverage ATAK and see location. And then, of course, it was a combination of software-defined radios as along with terrestrial radios too. With our ROIP interfaces, we can now connect other types of radios like traditional Motorola radios that may not belong to the same organization, maybe even to first-time responders if they needed to incorporate that as well. So they were really pleased with that. And it was just a really cool experience to be
Yeah,
able to put that together. Yeah, one of the things I enjoyed seeing too was that they used our product as a piece to something that they put together that looked nothing more like a simple hard case.
right.
And this hard case just had a bunch of custom made interfaces behind it, and they'd plug in any radio that they needed to act as like a donor radio, basically to the gateway to the radio net, and that would give them instant access for interoperability. Now they had lines of communication, whatever was necessary. You need this talk group from this radio net, just plug it in. You need this IP phone, whether it be a simple desk phone or just an endpoint on a Wi-Fi network, just plug it in. And they were off and running, even had access to the internet through a Starlink type satellite right inside the box that would basically just connect them to the internet
Yeah.
and provide another line of communication to it.
And I think we met all of the requirements, the solutions from a REDCom perspective, whether it was our XRI or our Sigma client for Windows or the ATAK plugin. This was important to them because when an emergency happens, you don't know who's going to respond, right? And sometimes state and local or one of the three-letter agencies will bring in their own radios, and we were able to show them how they could just add those to the XRI and bring them into the conversation.
And doing it in such a way that it didn't actually require somebody to open up a laptop and start typing. All that would be pre-configured.
Right.
So it would just be a manual intervention where you
Right.
just plug these devices in and now you're part of the network. If it's not needed, don't plug it in. If it is, just simply plug it in.
So one of the things was the RTS video stream. So we were able to demonstrate that.
Yeah, that was really interesting. With our ability to share RTSP video feeds, you can now see that what the pilot is either experiencing and or a video feed that they may want somebody else to be able to see. And with our ability to share that RTSP video feed, now you have somebody just using their ATAK clients. Now you got an actual location along with video content that can be seen simultaneously. Yeah, aside from this experience that we went through, which was pretty exciting, it doesn't seem like a one-off either. This seems like it's coming up, pretty often where we're presented such a situation. Whether it was a unique situation where we were in because it felt kind of like a hybrid solution for both the military, and it was a military operation that was doing first-time responding. But I see this coming up at least in our.
Yeah, especially with a lot of the three-letter agencies, or as we expand into the commercial or the aviation market, they're using multiple radios, and they're also using, whether it's in their air operations center, different landline phones too. And we see the need for that interoperability.
What I see us doing that's kind of differentiator is the fact that we can do it all, behind our software. We can do the interoperability. We can provide the interfaces for terrestrial radio, for analog radio connectivity, for the software-defined radios. We act as a call controller in addition to providing the interfaces for all of our radio interfaces. We also do the ATAK plugin. We do our client. So now you have a Windows client with our software running on it, even emulating a virtual PTT button for transmitting audio. We have it on our Android devices as well, where there is a virtual PTT button to communicate. We do it all within one solution. And also we also complement other technologies. So if there is an existing ROIP device, for example, we can register that as well.
Yeah.
So we just have like a good overall solution that includes all in one software.
And I think that as a small company, we develop that software, so it's open standards. It really allows you to bring those other companies into our solution and be able to work with them.
Yeah, agree. We can work with call that, growing technologies, whether it be any growing technologies behind VHF, HF, or anything like that.
Right.
We have the ability to complement that, if anything. So it's really something that continues to come up.
So Mike, we're coming up on hurricane season, and
Yeah.
you're a native of Florida.
Yeah,
And
hurricanes.
Caribbean, these islands don't have a real good, robust infrastructure.
Yeah.
I think having an XRI as one of our solutions to bring in all those radio nets.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think?
It'll allow instant communications, whether it be right from a mobile device, even like that box
Right.
now can allow first time responders, allow other organizations to be able to interop and communicate with each other.
Right.
And it could be dependent upon somebody to patch these connections to one another, or even a manual connection
Right.
where somebody just plugs in their radio to act as the gateway to that talk group.
Sure. Because, when you look at those disasters, first thing to go are the local networks, and the cell networks are going to be,
Yeah,
pummeled with calls.
Yep.
So, we're taking, whether it's a software defined radio as your transport, and then being able to have that communicate as your backbone.
Yeah, which is
right?
great because that's one of the first things that gets damaged in those disasters
Yeah.
is antennas. And when all that is lost, everybody's his cell phone. We're all very dependent on that, and those cell towers, the ones that are left, are going to be jammed. They're going
Right.
to be overwhelmed, and with the ability to have radio, at least it provides that instant communication
Sure.
for the ones who need it.
But if you have situations like this, whether it's radio interoperability or looking to connect your local landlines to your radios, give us a call. We're here, and Mike and I are available to have those conversations, as well as all of our solutions architects. So we want to welcome you to reach out to REDCOM, and that really is it for the REDCOM Radar. And we'll see you next time.